2 days ago in Germany's Essen, which is in the northeast of the country, there was a 41-year-old Syrian who literally went on a rampage. He literally went nuts. So he set fire to multiple houses and then ran into several shops with his van. And then at some point, some people tried to detain him, and the police came, they arrested him, and there is a sort of debate about his motives right now. But what is
surely it's white supremacy?
Probably. I think that's 99.9% of the people who believe this.
He was far right, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Must have been.
He was just a person concerned about how racist Germany is. That was the issue.
Exactly. So what is interesting in this case is that you don't see that much of coverage here, despite the fact that there were around 30 people injured and 2 children are in critical condition. And because there haven't been victims, at least yet, hopefully there won't be, you don't see the same pattern of politicians making the same kinds of
there's nothing to say about this.
Statements. And you don't see them doing this. They are trying to bury the news.
Is it an isolated incident, Stelios?
Of course,
do you reckon?
It is an isolated incident that most people don't want to talk about. Rather than
it's so isolated that it just keeps on happening over and over again.
Yeah, so we have far less things open to us to say about them, and this is interesting because it shows that there has been a consistent effort to bury this. But before we say more about this, we have Islander issue number 2. And everyone says that this is an excellent edition. And we have people writing for it, like my esteemed colleagues here in the panel, my esteemed co-hosts, Josh and Carl, and many other people. Definitely check it out. And also see our lovely merch. This is just £15. I think it's a great bargain.
I agree.
Yeah, because it's just really cutting edge articles.
Unironically, when Trump's like, everyone says so, absolutely everyone does say so. I've yet to hear a bad word.
Also, if we ever get kicked off of the internet, this will be there forever.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Also, we have mugs and t-shirts.
Starmer probably won't send the Gestapo around to your house to confiscate it.
Yeah, we have metal t-shirts, also Island Forest t-shirts. And I think we also have... Do they come in sizes?
Of course
they do.
Do they?
Yes.
All the way up to 3XL.
Exactly. Yeah, we have small, medium, large, XL, 2XL, 3XL.
And it delivers worldwide.
And it delivers worldwide. Exactly, Carl. I think that's a bargain. Right, so let's say what we know so far. So it began this Saturday around 7 p.m. in Essen in northeast Germany. We will talk about this horrifying picture in a bit. So what happened is that we have a 41-year-old Syrian. He set fire to a residential building and then drove to another street to set another house on fire. And we'll just start talking a bit about this. So what we see here is we literally see people who are trying to save their children and taking considerable risks at themselves because they had the fire brigade had ladders, but they couldn't reach the top floor. So you literally see there a mother exiting the window on the roof. Yeah. She literally runs risk. She literally risks her life to save her small.
So you can see the smoke billowing out of the top window.
You can see the smoke, and a lot of children inhaled smoke, and they were in critical condition. 2 are in critical condition, but more have been severely injured.
So did he set fire to the whole apartment complex then?
Yes. Blimey. Yeah. And that wasn't enough. He continued. Right. And if you see here, he went and he did the same to another house, but also he took the van and he rammed a flower shop, a vegetable shop.
Oh, yeah.
We see him here. He's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that wasn't enough also.
What could his possible motivations for this be?
Hates vegetables.
No, he absolutely hates vegetables. We can watch it again here. He's just ramming the store.
Seems like he's got mental health. Yeah, it's a bit loud.
No, I'm sick of sweeping this under the carpet. Oh, it's just mental health issues.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think it should be just mental health issues. I think that why should we be letting mentally ill people in, or anyone at all from Syria, in the country? Because this is what you get. Some people are more predisposed towards these sorts of things than other people.
He'll have his reasons for this.
Well,
Lack of sensitivity training. Or something.
you have anticipated some of the stuff that some of the questions I want to raise with the segment, but a lot of people are speculating whether this is a terrorist incident or not. But at the end of the day, what is the most important thing is that this has no place in Europe.
Yeah.
This has zero place in Europe. So whether this person had links with terrorist groups or not, whether he just idolized them but wasn't involved with them, all this is secondary. The main thing is that this has zero place in Europe, and it should have zero place anywhere in the world. So he rammed the flower shop, and then he went out with a machete. We have here some footage. He comes out of it. He's wielding a machete, and he's shouting, and he's gonna enter.
So it's interesting that you can hear Muslim noises around this fruit and veg shop. So is this like a grudge thing potentially?
Could be.
Where he's
Yeah, so now people are speculating whether he was a terrorist or not. There has been zero official account whether he was or not, but some people are pointing out similarities and differences. Some people are saying that the modus operandi, the way he went about it, bears striking resemblance with some previous
Sure, it's just crusading for human
attacks. Yeah, especially the use of the van in order to...
There's a few cases in London where a van's been used, yeah.
Yeah, and not just there, it's just really widespread. And you see him there having machetes and knives. Some people say he's wearing a keffiyeh, which is, I think, the Palestinian scarf.
That's right, yeah.
And also he has some other... He had a small symbol with a Palestinian flag. Right, so how was this covered in major networks?
Well,
who is to blame?
With weird amounts of sensitivity, probably.
Who is to blame? Someone has to be blamed.
Well, surely the guy with the machete is to blame.
Was it an accident? Was it a failure to integrate the man? This poor refugee felt so, put upon and such a victim of racism that he had to crash the van into the veg shop and set fire to an apartment complex.
That remains to be seen, but it's manhood that is to blame.
Oh,
so here
is it men?
Yeah, we have it.
Oh, okay.
I think that
could have been anything.
Yeah, I think that's the Deutsche Welle, and it says police arrest man over arson attacks and van crash. Police in Germany say they have arrested a man over two arson attacks and a van collision. 2 children were critically injured in one of the attacks, believed to have been aimed at a particular family. So it's
vengeance.
Yeah, it's men take this. Also in Euronews, 8 children seriously hurt in arson attack in Germany city in Essen. And they say a man's been arrested after allegedly setting 2 fires in Essen that left 30 people injured and driving a van into 2 shops. Authorities.
I love the undifferentiated man. Just the man, a man, man. Human male.
Yeah, because that's how they categorize all men everywhere.
But there's only one way to give less information about this, is say a human has been arrested. Like
as opposed to an alien or something.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Homo sapien.
Yeah, exactly. So at least we know it's male, so that's more information. Not female, that's more information. So there's only one way to make this less informative. I mean, I guess you could say a sentient being, maybe.
I'd be very interested to see, just as a sort of experiment, if they just started reporting on an ethnic Syrian did this, and how much it would change people's political attitudes. Which is their news just for a week.
Which is precisely why they report.
Of course. Yeah.
Again, they say the same thing. A man has been arrested after allegedly setting off 2 fires in the western German city of Essen that left 30 people injured and driving a van into 2 shops, authorities said on Sunday. They say the fire services said that when it arrived at the scene of the first blaze, smoke was billowing from the entrance of the building and people were calling for help from windows. Neighbors had up ladders to help people escape, but they weren't long enough to reach the upper floors. And here we have some more information than man.
Again, but the way that it says it. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
it just infuriates me. He's an Essen resident. Right, okay. Is he on holiday? Oh, he has Syrian citizenship. Again, not a Syrian living in Essen. No, not an immigrant, a Syrian immigrant. No. He's like, all of this is external, right? So if he was a Syrian immigrant, that would imply agency on his part. He had chosen to move from Syria to Essen. But no, this is all the passive voice. This is a thing that has happened to him. Oh, well, he has Syrian citizenship, as if this is something that just happened to him, and it's completely outside of his control. And as if it's childlike, infantilizing this guy.
It reminds me of the language of people of colour.
Yeah, very much.
It's that same sort of weird, sanitized, passive language.
Yeah.
When they put the Essen resident first, it's like that's the essential bit. That's all you need to care about. All you need to care about. The other is just entirely contingent.
That's kind of an appeal to the magic soil, isn't it? You know, he's an Essen resident, so he must just be like everyone else in Essen.
Maybe there's something about Essen.
You just don't go there.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah, what's wrong with the soil of Essen to turn people into people like this?
By the way, I've been to Essen, and I think it's lovely.
I'm sure it is.
And one person who's really close to mine got a surgery there, and she's fine. And it's a place I always remember in a good way. And it saddens me to see things like that happening. And it also saddens me to see the hypocrisy of, what people are saying. And you have been hinting towards it, the word mental.
Well, look,
according to the German press agency, the man's lawyer, Volker Schröder, said he had no political motive and that it was a purely tragic family story. A fight against his wife for the children and probably a mental disorder.
So his plan was to... did they own the grocery shop? Like, was he going to burn down the apartment with his kids in it and destroy her livelihood and then machete them? What was his plan?
Maybe they were shopping from there, and he said that if you're shopping from that place, I need to punish the grocery store.
And I realized that to us this looks like a mental disorder, but that's because we're different to these people. We think differently to them.
Well, I mean, whether it is or not, the thing is that there are too many mental disorders out there.
I think he could potentially be a Middle Eastern mental disorder enthusiast as well. That's entirely possible.
And not only possible, it may be probable.
Mm-hmm.
They just have very different reactions to these things than we do.
Yeah, but I want us to focus and dwell a bit on that, the purely tragic family story, because you remember there seems to be a particular leniency when a lot of people from particular groups are violent towards women in ways that leniency would not be shown to Europeans.
Yeah. I mean, if Europeans were, committing honor killings, then it wouldn't be like, well, it's just their culture. It's just, we have to be understanding.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like that. It would be the exact opposite. But the thing is that we have plenty of evidence about this. So, for instance, just out of nowhere, a very simple incident I was reminded of was the incident at a particular food chain where there was someone who was very angry with the order and he slapped the waitress.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And
nothing.
The police was no biggie or something. It was a cultural issue.
There were police in the restaurant at the time.
Yeah,
and he wasn't arrested. Nothing happened. And this woman she was a black woman from London, wasn't she?
I think so.
And she young black woman was like, "Well, I can't believe that I'm just being ignored. The police aren't going to do anything about it." So, right, you found out where you are on the progressive stack.
Yeah,
you're beneath the Muslim man. Sorry to tell you that. The rule should be one rule for all, but not in London.
And it's interesting that the man's lawyer says this because obviously he wants to portray what happens with him in a positive light. And this shows exactly the kind of defense the lawyer thinks would work in a court of law. To appeal to mental disorder,
wife and kids,
but also to appeal to a tragic family story, a fight against his wife or the children. So this isn't exactly the type of fatherly figure of the stable family man who you want to raise children with. So
a good relationship with your father can warm your heart for the rest of your life. A very brief period.
Just saying, if I ever got a divorce and my wife got the kids, I'm not going to murder my wife or ex-wife to get the kids. I'm not going to set fire to a house.
But how is this supposed to be a defense? That's supposed to work in the way that it would minimize sort of the kind of culpability. They would say he is less responsible for
It doesn't
what he's
have
doing.
to appeal to a European morality. Is I think the reason for it.
He's a dangerous lunatic. Send him across the southern border from Mexico.
Yeah, but also that is the issue, though, that there are a lot of people who are being defended on such grounds that they're not responsible, or it's their culture. It's different, right? So here we see someone, Lars Pellinat, saying in our German media from ARD ZDF to RTL wants to sell us this incident as crime motivated by relationship issues. And he is speculating that there is something more into it. I think that
Fair, reasonable speculation.
fair, reasonable speculation, but it doesn't add much to this here. I think whether we are talking about someone here who is affiliated with terrorist groups or not, it's just entirely besides the point, because even if he isn't, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So I think that in this case, if people are highlighting the idea that no, he may not be a terrorist, or that there has been no motive established in this case,
Who cares?
Yeah,
He was trying to
ultimately-
murder people. He was trying to kill
Yeah.
people.
We
Like,
can
who cares?
see all of the crime data from other European countries as well that suggests that Syrians are some of the most likely to commit violent crimes of any group, and I don't think it should be Europe's problem to solve problems in Syria.
Yes, and also that's what I wanted to say. It's completely secondary if he is affiliated with any group or something. That's not acceptable. People shouldn't put up with it. And it seems that Germany isn't putting up with it, and this is evident particularly in the good performance of the AfD in several state elections in Saxony, Thuringia, and in Brandenburg. And the government is giving completely mixed signals to people. So they said on the one hand that they are going to tighten control borders in immigration, crack down, and they said they're going to do this just for 6 months. Sorry.
But they're literally like, we want to be really woke, but they keep murdering people. We want to be really woke, yeah, but people are actually dying.
Yes.
That's the...
The funny thing is, the border controls in Germany as well are so lackluster and uninfused that I think my sort of suspicion of this, I don't have enough evidence to necessarily say definitively, is that they're running these border controls, but they're doing it poorly, so they can say, well, we tried to control the border and it didn't work. Our crime didn't really go down very much, and so it's a waste of time. Whereas they're just, standing on the main roads, and for example, they're letting like large lorries and certain vehicles go through whilst they're stopping cars, when actually it should probably be the other way around, judging from the border between France and the UK.
But I'm saying that this was a mixed signal because the party that did this, led by Olaf Scholz, is the Social Democrat Party, and they did this just in order to portray that they are doing something against immigration. Particularly, they wanted to hurt the AfD in Brandenburg. But then he immediately went to Central Asia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and countries of the sort. And he wanted to say that we are going to make it easier for skilled workers from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and the countries of Central Asia to go to Germany. So what he did wasn't something to say that, okay, it's a moment of self-criticism. We have suffered things like the Solingen stabbings, or the stabbing in Mannheim, or the stabbings in just several neighborhoods. That was just not an attempt to say that we are going to put our country in order. That was just an attempt to...
The nerve on the guy, though, to say, well, okay, you've had enough of Turks and Syrians. We're going to rotate now and get, tens of thousands of Borats into your country.
Why does it always have to be Muslim countries?
I know, yeah.
Like, why can't... I mean, we need loads of immigrants. Okay, let's assume that was true. Can we have, like, East Asians, please?
They probably don't want to move here that much,
Yeah,
to be
probably,
fair.
yeah.
But, you could look at a group like the Chinese, for example, which commit crime at a lower rate in all of the countries they've settled in Europe. That's sort of a more model group that they could turn to if they wanted to, if they really wanted to justify it.
But at the end of the day, it's all about whether you want to prioritize your own population or not.
Yeah.
And the problem is that a lot of parties have reconceived who we and they are.
I always question the concept of the skills shortage. Really, in Germany, Like, that's hard to believe because the Germans are really smart and really hard-working.
Also,
So, how is it, it must be a lack of training.
well, it's a fallacious argument because it's arguing that there is a lack of employees that are skilled and that we need to get people in, but then they're going to like sub-Saharan Africa, to the Middle East. People whose qualifications can't really match those of Europe because the institutions in their home country aren't up to the same standard of Europeans. And anyway, when it gets to the point of lots of things being automated and AI running a lot of things, lots of industries, we're going to actually need far fewer jobs, even if we had no immigration, let alone bussing in loads of people.
I just refuse to believe that the Germans are like, well, no one's working hard or doing training or is smart enough to get these jobs. No, I don't really believe that's the case. Maybe it's the case in England, but it's definitely not the case in Germany.
I think it's a post hoc rationalisation wherever it goes. Yeah, of course.
But it's a nonsense.
But to carry on with the segment, because it's I'll have to draw it to a close in a bit. I think that the governments of Europe, they are essentially trying to not solve the issue.
Oh yeah,
they're just they want to pretend that they're trying to do something, but actually they are not doing anything. And it's telling when they're sort of excusing people. They're letting people get away with it, because here I have the Solingen stabbing incident where 3 people were killed and 5 seriously injured. It was again someone from Syria who had been denied asylum status, and it wasn't granted, and there was a deportation order that had expired, and they hadn't deported him, and he went and he killed. So what I want to say is that all this virtue signaling rhetoric about human rights is completely abused by European governments. They are disrespecting Europeans first and foremost, because they are not literally caring about the public safety of Europeans. And this isn't by any stretch of the imagination something that just happened now. I have this video from 8 years ago. They are talking about, again, another Syrian who killed someone with a machete and injured 2 other people. They're saying the exact same things that they're saying now. Let's play this video.
A machete attack by a Syrian asylum seeker in the German town of Reutlingen has no apparent connection to terrorism. Police say the incident, which left 1 woman dead and 2 others injured, happened after an argument.
That's worse.
We have leads that this was a crime connected to a relationship. That means that there was a relationship between the killed woman and the 21-year-old suspect. We have absolutely no hints that this was a religiously motivated crime or that there is a terrorist background.
Okay, that's worse. That's way worse.
Let's play the video and add
to
this, because
the attacker, who was apprehended by police, is said to have been involved in previous incidents causing injuries to other people and was apparently acting alone. The victim and her attacker both worked at the same Turkish fast food restaurant close to where the argument took place. The incident comes amid tension after other violent events in Germany in the past week.
The same thing, and this is from 8 years ago. This is from 8 years ago, 27th of July 2016.
This is worse. Like, if it's political, it's like, okay, people get involved in politics, people get caught up in politics. Someone does something insane in politics. Okay, fair enough. At least there's reason involved. It's like, okay, well, he had reasons for it. No, this is about the habituation of these people. This is about the way that they think it's appropriate to deal with their interpersonal relationships. It's the conflict of a dignity culture versus an honor culture. And the honor culture says, no, if a woman has slighted you in some way, her dignity doesn't matter. In fact, it's your honor that matters. So go and get the goddamn machete and go and deal with her. And that's why he did what he did. This is atrocious. This is way worse than it being political.
Well, it shows that any Syrian could basically just be a sleeper agent of violence. Like, they could just be
a sleeper agent is to give them a political overarching.
That's
motion,
true. Yeah,
right? That's the thing. It's that there is a habitual problem with the community that we have to be worried about. And I'm not saying that every Syrian is going to do this or anything like that. There are going to be lots of Syrians who don't agree with this, but the way they're framing is, it was just a relational issue. No, that's worse. That's way worse. Because all of society is just a series of relations that we live within.
Yes, and I think the most important thing you said has to do with the symbolism, because just by people changing geographical location, they don't change culture. No. And some cultures see things very symbolically, they don't look at the individual. So what people misunderstand here is that in the minds of some people, everything is to be judged in a collectivist basis, and they see things symbolically. So when they have feuds, particularly with a family member or something, they can also want to punish the culture that they blame for changing the minds of the people they're having fight with. So for instance, whether he is linked with terrorism or not, maybe my gut instinct says that this particular person was not, because there were 5 people who were able to detain him and throwing objects at him. He wasn't particularly well trained, but that's just speculation. But all this doesn't matter. What seems to matter is that symbolically in his mind, he wanted to punish the culture that he thought was responsible for his wife having a feud with him.
He may well be defending his honor as well.
Yeah.
As in, he feels that the culture has dishonored him more broadly.
And there are the virtue signaling policies have disastrous effects. It's not just that, we're just having a go at some people and we're just ranting. We have this article from European Conservative. I've shown it before several times. If you want to find out more about the crime statistics in Germany, check on our website. But I'll just say that annual crime in Germany has risen for the year 2023 by 12.5%.
Jesus Christ.
And
that's a lot in a year.
Yeah. Just saying that. Anyway, I think...
And that's an increase from the previous year on that.
Yeah, it's the annual crime increase. Yeah, so there's zero room in Europe for behavior like that.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're putting out, you can follow Dan's series, Brokenomics. Here he's playing poker for some reason. If you want to follow all the other things we're putting out, you can follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.